Em, can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.
Like, it's okay to talk about the parts that you didn't do, but that you planned, because that's still showing, hey, I went into this and even though I got it resolved really quickly, I had a backup plan.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're here to give you all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, and welcome back, everyone. Who is our Shoot Your Shot shout-out recipient this week?
Darcy, and this made me so happy. I immediately chose to put this one in here because it made my day. So Darcy bought us 5 coffees. I don't know if Darcy is a girl or a boy. It's a unisex name. So we're just going to go with they. They said, Emma and Sarah, I've been waiting to share good news with you since I started listening a few months back, and here it is. I was devastated when I lost my job last summer. I was struggling to figure out how to move forward with my career, feeling like I would never find my confidence or a job I was proud of again. After nearly 9 months of the brutal job search cycle, I had been interviewed for 3 different roles, but I still wasn't getting any job offers. I found your podcast and it changed everything. The things that flipped the script for me were, number 1, no surprise, best bits. It sounds so simple, but controlling the narrative on my career story was hands down the best advice I've ever heard about interviewing. I love that. Number 2, just saying the thing. I was dancing around the reason I left the previous employer because I was so traumatized by it. I thought that if they wanted to know about it, the interviewers would ask outright.
Yes.
Your episode on how to talk about the thing that you're worried about made such a big difference.
Oh my God, I talk about this way too much and it's getting through.
It's getting through. Darcy's listening. Number 3, preparing for the interview. So many things in this bucket. Stopping the interview prep the day before, getting a good pep talk from a friend, listening to your pep talk episode, preparing genuine questions to ask the interviewer. Just so many incredible suggestions. I finally felt like I was not only qualified, but truly the best candidate for this job. I applied for a job I was really excited about, which would take me out of the private sector I worked in and into a role with a state government agency. I went through multiple rounds of panel interviews, both over the phone and in person. I followed your advice on the thank you emails, not trying to sell myself, but just building on the connections I made with each interviewer. I'm so thankful to you both because without your podcast, I may not have been selected as the finalist for this role. I got word the day before my birthday that I'll be receiving the official written job offer once all the background and reference checks come back in. Please know that you changed my life and I talk about it with anyone who will listen. I'll be listening to your episodes on starting a new job in the near future, and I'll always come back for any career advice you have to offer.
Oh,
Darcy?
I love this. And we get so much good feedback from people, but I really, really love hearing about what was the thing, what was the idea. It doesn't have to be the particular episode, but what was the stuff that you took away from it? That's so helpful to us because we know what advice is making a big difference.
And for Darcy, to me, it's like all the micro moments. It's not one big insane thing. It's kind of like all of the mindset shifts throughout the process that have led them here.
And I can tell, I'm getting feminine energy, whatever that means.
I'm getting masculine energy.
Oh, really?
Because there's just not love heart. There's a smiley face at the end. And normally our girl listeners are like, love you so much, hearts, besties, sisters.
True.
This is giving you changed my life, but I'm not too affectionate. I don't know.
Let's not make any assumptions. Darcy is a dedicated listener, whoever they are. Like, you can tell a lot of our messages have gotten through that we've like repeated and repeated. So that's just not they've listened to a couple of episodes. Like, there's some real commitment there. And also knowing about our episodes about having a new job as well. Oh, I hope, Darcy, that you get to hear this. We are so excited for you, and happy birthday.
Yeah, that is so good. If you want results like Darcy and you need a little bit of help on your job seeking journey, you can visit our website and find out all about all the different help available. We have Interview Academy, which is a self-paced step-by-step help guide, or coaching is still available with Sarah if you've already done lots of prep but you want that specialized niche practice back and forth. You can check out all about it. And as always, hang on. Time for a thank you out here. For a little while, when it comes time to say this part of the episode where we say that if you want to request an episode, slide into our DM. A little while ago, I started becoming a bit passive aggressive and saying, if you would like an episode and you want to message us, follow us first, please, because it's really rude. Anyway, it's paying dividends. Sorry, I'm so glad I started doing that. We hit 5,000 followers the other day, and if it wasn't for me taking a stand, we wouldn't be here. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that has been following kindly before they slide in, so then we all benefit. We're getting a bit of love. We're passing on our love and knowledge. Everyone's happy.
Also, when you said sorry, it just reminded me of that Aussie comedian girl who makes those videos
Millie
being
Ford.
the teacher. Millie, yes, where she goes, sorry, boys at the back. Why are you listening?
She's iconic. But yeah, so sorry, but you need to follow us before you slide into our DMs. But everyone's been listening and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. We really need to grow that and start posting, but we're exhausted. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about
a strategy. It's a strategy, I would say, for your interview answers. It's an option. If you're a bit low on your best bits, you may be struggling to come up with like a scenario for something and you're like, oh, but that's literally never happened. Like, I'm scraping the barrel here on things to talk about. This is a strategy that you might like to think about. So I want to throw it out there. So we're kind of talking about, okay, I've got a scenario that fits this, but it maybe doesn't show the whole way that I would go about it. This is very hard to put into words. So I'm just going to go into an example. So let's say the question was something like, tell me about a time that you weren't able to meet a deadline and you had multiple things to juggle or something like that. So you might have a story, and Em, I'm going to get you to do a bit of a creative version of this story. So you might have a story and it's going to go something like this.
So I was working on a project, a big data finance project, and I was asked to do that by another department. So the promotions team wanted to know how much it was going, our last campaign cost. So I was running all of the spreadsheets and all of the numbers to give it back to them to present. Then I was given something urgent by my boss, which was the financials for the company and tax time, which took priority. So I had to go to the other promos department head and ask if the project could be delayed by a week. The department head said that that was okay, so we pushed it back by a week.
Yeah, right. Now, incredible example. And I love the flavour that you added there. You would probably do it a little bit longer, just as a call out. Like, you would add details about what the project was, what you specifically said to the department head, all of that. But that's the gist of the story. Now, really great example, but you might feel like, oh, well, all I did was ask, can we push it back? And they said yes. Like, it's too easy of a resolution. And
you want to add some GST.
Well, when they're asking that question, they want to know your strategies, how you would go about it, what else would you try, whatever. And in this case, it just happened to work straight away. And they're like, yeah, no worries, we'll just do it by a week. So you might want to add a bit more detail. And this is where this strategy can come in. It's an option. You could add a hypothetical at the end of your answer.
So like, but if she had have said no, here's what I would have done.
That's right. And so you might say, well, in this case, it worked out. But if it hadn't, I would have said to the head of department, hey, with this project, I've already done the initial analysis. So if I get that back to you now, I'm going to have to work on this other project. But then once your team are done with it, I can do the rest. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can split it in half and do, like you would add a hypothetical to say, well, my backup plan for if they couldn't delay it was this. Adding that in, I think really gives it a lot more context and they get to see your decision-making process.
Could you also say, because I'm being pulled in two different directions where they're equally important and they're both managers, head of promos, head of finance, go to whoever's the sort of more senior boss and say, look, these are both telling me two different things. Can I have your help on what trumps? You tell me which one, you do the final ruling, because they're both obviously going to push their case.
Exactly. And so you then saying, well, I know I tried to sort it out myself. And then when that didn't work, I then tried to escalate it. Absolutely. Like if you've got a scenario like this, you would know what your backup plan would have been if the first thing didn't work. So add that in there. I just think it adds a lot more detail to your answer and it can help you be like, well, they've always been able to accommodate me when I've had two things to prioritize. It's never gotten more complex than that. I think this also works for like conflict at work. Oh, well, I had a chat to them and it all resolved. Well, what would you do if it didn't resolve? Oh, well, I've never been in that scenario before. Oh, well, hypothetically, you could add that onto the end of the answer. If that didn't work, my next step would have been XYZ.
Just because you haven't been in the situation before, you don't want that to shoot yourself in the foot on being able to show your line of thinking and your initiative. And so even if it hasn't happened, go the step further on how you would go about that decision.
Yeah. And let's say it was a computer problem that you were troubleshooting or something like that. Like I ran into this problem where my files weren't updating on this thing. And so I tried this and it worked. And you're like, oh, that's not, that was the easiest option. But if it didn't work, my plan was to do this next and this next and this next. Like it's okay to talk about the parts that you didn't do, but that you planned, because that's still showing, hey, I went into this and even though I got it resolved really quickly, I had a backup plan. I knew what I was going to try next. That wasn't my only option.
Interview Academy might be the perfect thing you're looking for. Interview Academy is a course Sarah has been working on after delivering hundreds of interview coaching sessions and getting incredible results.
But unfortunately, I'm only one gal living in an Aussie time zone who works a day job, and all of that mean I can't help everyone one-on-one, which drove me crazy.
So for over a year, Sarah's been working on turning all of those amazing lessons into an on-demand, step-by-step interview prep course. We hold your hand through the entire thing,
and you can do it at home in your own time and get instant access right now. Check it out at interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link is in the show notes.
Now, some things to consider. This is a great idea in those circumstances, but you shouldn't do this every time. Every time they ask you a question and you've got an awesome example, there's no need to be going, but if that didn't happen and someone got run over by a train and then the stars aligned, you don't have to do that. But just in a pinch when you feel like your example doesn't perfectly showcase what they're trying to get at and you're sort of lacking content for a particular topic, but so much better than just saying, oh, that's never happened.
Yeah, well, we're trying to play both sides of saying, if they said, well, tell me about a time you didn't meet a deadline, you're like, well, I've always met my deadlines. Oh, but what I might do is XYZ. Talking in complete hypotheticals is also an option, but I'd encourage you to try not to. I find that it means that you don't give enough detail. If I did this and then, oh, well, it would depend on if it was this or this or this. And you end up being so non-specific that you don't kind of get anything about yourself across. So this is a nice middle ground where you're telling something that did actually happen and then you're able to add on to it with some ifs and buts and whatever.
And it could sound like, in terms of a template, if that didn't work, I would have. If the customer responded with X, I would have. Other options I could have explored were X, Y, Z.
Yeah. If this had happened in the beginning, I would have taken a different approach, or all those kinds of things that you can explore to add a bit of context. Because the thing that we're trying to get at here is your answer should be, yes, an answer to the question, obviously, but your answer should be like a good representation of how you approach those things in general.
I'm trying to think of a hypothetical, a recent one, but I don't know if the hypothetical would work in this situation. So yesterday morning, I got into work at 4:45 a.m. I have to pre-record my first bulletin of the day at 5:30 a.m. because no one else is in the building. Normally there's announcers there to press the buttons that enable me to go live. They're not in yet. So went to go record it the same way I do every day. And it has to be the file has to be dragged into the system by 5:25 a.m. It is 5:22 a.m. I'm just about to finish recording. I look over to the file. It's flatlined. It hasn't picked up anything.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, that's okay. I would have had time to record fast, record it again, but I did it again, noticed it was flatlining. So it wouldn't matter how many times I'm doing it. Something's wrong. It's not picking up the audio. I'm looking at the time. I'm going, shit, there is no way this is going in on time. So I call the announcer, Bella. I say, how far away are you? Because I know that normally sometimes she'll get in by 5:30 and I could just do it live. She could come in, flick the switch, all good. She's like, I'm still coming down the mountain. I'm 20 minutes away.
I'm still coming down the mountain. That sounds like a euphemism.
She's like,
not.
But it's literally a mountain. She's like, I was up with my kid all night. I'm running a little later than usual. And I'm like, shit, okay. I'm going to have to skip it, the news, because otherwise what would happen is yesterday's news would play. So she's like, yep, not going to make it. Do that. So I've got her on the phone. I walk into the announcer's booth, which is all, imagine 20 computers. Like, you know, on those movies where they're like, we've got to hack the firewall. And they're like, that's what it looks like. There's like 1,050,000 keyboards in there. Like, it's like a zoo. But I somehow remember how to click on the log, scroll down to where we're up to, click the intro cart that plays before the news, see the REM news file, press skip. And then I'm like, oh my God, I think I've done it. I've skipped it. I've skipped the news. And it's, 2 minutes before the news is playing. And so in that case, it worked out. But if I was trying to add a hypothetical to that, I would just say, and hypothetically, if I wasn't able to skip it, yesterday's news would have played, because there's actually no other option.
Well, I think that where that would have worked is, let's say it flatlined and then you did something and then you recorded it again. And so you just quickly recorded it again before the deadline, right? And that was your answer. You weren't able to go into all these other steps, but you were like, oh, but I had a plan B and a plan C. And it's like, oh, I just clicked this thing and it was refreshed and then it just started working. And so your whole story just kind of becomes that you just had to do it twice, a little bit rushed the second time. Then you can say, well, if that didn't work, what I would have done is, you know, it has to be in by 5:25, but it doesn't actually go live until 5:32. And I knew that oftentimes the announcer comes in, so I probably would have called her. And then if that didn't work, then I would have tried to skip the news, because otherwise yesterday's news played and that would be the worst case outcome, like worse than just nothing playing. Does that make sense? Like, you're kind of spelling out, I understand the consequences. I understand prioritizing. Here's the steps that I would have done if that first thing didn't work. In your case, you lived the hypothetical.
Perfect execution. I'm just excel under pressure. Nothing gets past me.
And yesterday's news didn't play. That's the thing. So if you were turning that into an interview answer, though, I would say, really important, you would have to do in the situation part, all the background. If I don't get it in, then yesterday's news will play, and that's really not good. We would pretty much always prefer that no news would play rather than yesterday's news and it's out of date.
And this was when yesterday's news that would have played was Trump's assassination.
Oh my God.
So
assassination attempt. Don't say that.
So you would have...
Oh my God.
What?
It would have been... No, I'm just saying, like, that would have been terrible.
I know. So because then not just is the news, old news, playing again, which is like a crime, it's also being marked by the biggest global tragedy ever. So it would be so obvious. Maybe on another day it would fly under the radar because it's a bit more generic, but that could not happen. So I also maybe should add that in.
Imagine people are like, yesterday, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait, again? Like, as in...
Yeah, how unlucky is this man?
Oh, so great example. I think this strategy is a good one to have up your sleeve if you're prepping your best bits and you've got some scenarios, but it all worked out too easily. Add in a hypothetical.
I like it. Hypothetically. You're telling them best case scenario. It's kind of great because it's fake, you know? In the fake scenario in which that hasn't happened, here's what perfect me would do in the perfect situation.
That's right. I would never make any mistakes and I would do X, Y, Z in perfect order and everyone would be happy. Yeah.
And we all live happily ever after.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck with it. Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing our Aussie accents and our Aussie references, hit that follow button in Apple or Spotify, or better yet, tell someone else about the show. We know you guys do that so much. It helps us help even more people, and hit the charts so we can get a bit of recognition and get even further and help even more people. And for a bit of behind the scenes content, check out Interview Boss on Instagram and chuck us a follow, would you?
we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.